Hey, good afternoon, YouTubers. It's Bushman again with Charlotte Honey Company. Long time no see. It's been a couple weeks. I know I promised you this swarm trap video 2 weeks ago, but I'm telling you what, I got hammered with orders, and I'll show you here in a minute. I built a total of 72 boxes for customers, along with bottom boards, inner covers, telescoping covers, escape boards, frames, foundation, wax, the whole 9 yards. So I've been super swamped. On top of working a full-time job, I'm trying to cram all this in the evenings and on the weekends. But I promised you a swarm trap. Here's a swarm trap. I've already built one. I've got all the cuts already done. I've got the dimensions. I'll show you exactly how they're supposed to be cut for the swarm trap that we're going to build. Hey, enough jibber jabber. Let's get to it. So what is a swarm trap? Well, this is a trap we put out in the woods or on the edge of a fence line or maybe even near your apiary. Catch your own swarming. Swarm traps, I think Tom Seeley defined the optimum swarm trap size as somewhere between 40 and 50 liters. You don't want it too small because then you're going to miss out on the big swarms. And you don't want it too big because, frankly, it's a pain in the butt to deal with a large swarm trap. So I came up with this dimension. I shouldn't say I came up with it, but based on research and sizes that everyone else is using. Standard width of a Langstroth, and so it holds frames inside. You can easily pull the frames out. Has a removable top, and then on the inside, you're able to drop the frame. So you could take a deep frame, drop it in just like that, and you have basically a built-in frame rest here. And then I'll see if I can get this on camera. But you also have like a basement underneath. That's what the bees are looking for. They're looking for that extra space. They want to know that if they move into that swarm trap, they're going to have room to grow throughout the summer. So we make it so that it holds a deep frame. And then underneath of that frame, I have about 6 inches of empty space. So with that 6 inches comes a little bit of variable that you got to keep an eye on your swarm trap, because if bees move into it, they're going to start hanging comb off of this deep frame. And you're going to have loose comb hanging off of here. So you want to keep an eye on it. Once the bees move in, you want to close them up. We have a closable vent here. You can go out at night once the bees are in. You're in this position here. Once they're in for the night, you just sneak in there, you shut it down. Now the bees are all locked in there. You can move them. You can pull these frames out, transfer them into your standard Langstroth hive, and you're good to go. But you got to keep an eye on them because they build comb fast. Swarming bees love to build comb. They are well equipped to build comb when they swarm. So always keep an eye on them if you're going to have this style of trap. If you don't want to keep an eye on them, then I recommend just taking a basic deep Langstroth hive, throwing a few frames in it, throw it out in the woods or wherever you're going to put your swarm trap. And when the bees do move in, the only space they can utilize is the exact space of your, let's say, 10 frame deep Langstroth hive. A little bit easier that way, but it's a pretty awkward hive to try to mount to a tree or get up on a stump or any of that. So we have this one. We're going to run through the dimensions. It's actually pretty simple to build. So what I did is I started with a 4x8 sheet of 1/2 inch CDX plywood. Rip that down into all of these pieces here. So we'll start with the front and back side. So we're 18 1/8 inch by 15 3/4. So these sizes are to optimize your 4x8 sheet of plywood. Think about 16 into 96 is even, but you have to allow for your saw blade kerf. So I knock it back to 15 3/4. That way I can get multiple pieces out of that sheet of plywood. So 2 of these at 18 1/8 and 15 3/4. That's your front piece and your back piece. And notice that a lot of these measurements are repeated throughout this build. So now we have our end pieces. They're going to go here and here. These are also 15 3/4 inches. So when you got your fence set up on your table saw, you can hammer these 15 3/4 inch pieces out pretty quick. The width is 8 1/8. So that's all 4 sides. Now we have our bottom, which that is going to be the bottom. A lot of folks use plywood. I like to use a solid piece of pine. It gives the trap a little bit more rigidity It does add a few ounces in weight, but it's worth it because you're going to be strapping this thing to a tree, hustling all over the country. Your bottom board is 18 1/8. Again, notice these measurements they're all the same. So it makes it really easy to cut your list out. And the width is 7 1/4. So that width will hold 5 frames in your hive and give you a little bit of extra wiggle room. And then we have frame rest. So typically on a Langstroth hive, you will dado out the end of your hive and your frame will sit down in. On this one, we can just add cleats on the side and then it kind of makes a frame rest all ready to go. So keeping in mind with the same measurement, I went a little bit wider. I wanted some more beef to this because again, we're going to be handling the crap out of this thing. 8 1/8. Same width as that guy right there. So when you got your saw set up, you can go ahead and cut these as well. These are 8 1/8 long, 3 1/2 wide. And you're going to need 2 of those for each swarm trap. So once you get that assembled, you just tack your cleats on the side and your box is pretty much done. So now what we want to do is add a cover to it. I want a cover that slides over, that's not going to blow off in the wind. I came up with this guy. And it just basically slips right over the top. Again, I'm going to use a piece of solid pine for the top. A little bit more rigidity. It's not going to warp and suck up moisture like a piece of plywood would. 20 3/4 by 9 3/4. So we're going to take that board and then we're going to add the cleats to the side. So the cleats are again 20 3/4, same measurement, by 3 1/2, the same width as our side cleats here. And we'll tack these right here on the side like that. And then the whole thing will drop on sort of like a migratory lid. Now we got to figure out how we want to hang it on a tree. So on the back side, I've added some spacer blocks because when you put your lid on, you now have this gap. So I can't just put a board right here on the side, otherwise it's going to run into this. So I have some scrap boards laying around. I'll glue and screw those to the back side of the trap. And then I'm going to take a 20-inch long. This is variable. You can make this as long, as short as you want. Essentially, you just want to be above the lid on the trap. 20 inches long, 3 1/2 wide, the same as these. So when I'm ripping my boards, I don't have to change my saw at all. I can rip out these pieces, glue and tack these spacer boards that are equal to the width of this top cleat. And then all I have to do is take this board, glue it, tack it with a couple crown staples or brad nails to hold it, and then I'll go from the inside and run a screw back into this. And essentially what that's going to do is I can walk out to a tree, I can run a strap through this hole, wrap it around the tree, ratchet strap it to the tree. And that's not going to go anywhere. That's super strong. This is screwed in, glued in, crown stapled in, definitely not going to go anywhere. So that's how we build our swarm trap. When we get all done with that, then I'll come in to the front here and I will run a hole saw through the corner here. You can see that the hole is flush with the bottom of the board. So if there's any moisture or anything in there, hopefully it'll drain out this hole. I don't expect there to be too much, but you can never be too sure. So bees don't want moisture and water hanging out in their swarm trap. If they see that, they're not going to go in there at all. So that's it in a nutshell. So let's go ahead and get this thing hammered out. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start with our bottom piece, 18 1/8 by 7 1/4. I'm going to stand that up on edge. Luckily I have this one here to help me out. Crown staple this to the edge. But we're going to use some Titebond 3. Make sure we have a really good bond. Squirt a little glue on there. Go ahead and lay this on top. Flush it up nice and even. And do the same thing on the other side. Wipe off our squeeze out. I'm going to flip it up on the side. right, just like that, we've got 2 swarm trap carcasses built. The next step is to nail the side cleats on. I'm going to put a healthy dose of glue down on the plywood. And we'll set our side cleats. They're just going to be flush on the ends. I have these little setup blocks, so I'll use a 1/2 inch and a 1/8 inch. That will be my space to overhang to make the frame rest. And we'll do the same thing on this side. Just like that. So our side cleats on. So now we're going to build our top cover. We got our 20 3/4 by 3.5 inch cleats. We're going to run a bead of glue on one side. We're just going to put our top right on there, and we'll crown staple it down once we get it nice and flush. Okay. Switch sides. Top cover's done. Go ahead and do the other one. And then there's our second cover. Okay, so now that we got my top on, we're going to center up 2 pieces of scrap right here in the middle. And flush with the bottom. Now we'll drive those in with screws from the inside. So now I just want to make sure that's square. So here down. And then we're going to run a few screws into that one. Exterior grade screws. Go ahead and run some screws from the inside. Almost done. So now what we're going to do is drill our entrance holes. And I'll lay it out exactly kind of where I want it based on the inside bottom board. So I'll trace a circle. I know I want my hole to be right on the edge, so I'll lay this piece down. And I'll butt my hole saw up against it, get somewhere centered. Don't push too hard because you'll blow the plywood out the back, so just nice and easy. Now all I have to do is center up my disc, and I have some stainless steel screws here, little tiny screws. Just center that up, send her home. You don't want it so tight that you can't move it by hand. There you have it. One swarm trap. Well, that was a long time coming, but hey guys, we got her done. 3 swarm traps out of 1 sheet of plywood. Bees are expensive, so you can spend a few bucks, buy a swarm trap, catch your own bees. You can save, almost $100. So Charlotte Honey Company has these for sale. $40 unpainted, $45 painted. Get your order in. I'd say the weight of these is probably, I don't know, maybe 20 pounds. So shipping's not too bad. So I can ship them to you if you just cover the cost of the shipping. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the swarm trap session. And as always, if you have any questions or you need a little bit more detail, leave a comment. I'll be more than happy to answer you and post a new video, or if we want to contact personally, I can send you some chats or some messages and get to the bottom of any questions you have. Always here for you here at Charlotte Honey Company. Our main goal is to help you succeed with your bees, help you build your own stuff, and just have fun. That's what we're here for. I love bees. I hope you love bees. That's all I got for this week. Again, sorry the video was so late. So at the ending credits, I'm going to walk you around the shop and I'm going to show you all the bee boxes that I've been building, because so far it's the biggest one-time rush of orders I've had, and I've been super busy, but awesome to have people come here, buy my hives, and I get to shoot the shit with them, talk about bees. It's fun. All right, happy beekeeping, and come on spring, bring us some warm weather. Till next time, Charlotte Honey Company says adios. We've been busy.